All right. 3, 2. It looks like that's the transition. Okay. So we should be on.
Let's do it,
Ryan
brother.
Matta, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. It's exciting because we're just a few minutes early going live. And we are live on X. Let's see. Yeah, we're up. We should be going. Thank you for coming on. You
Sick.
have a new documentary called Never in America. So can you introduce yourself to those who don't recognize you, for the few that there will be, and just kind of explain what you have going on today, the big news, the exciting stuff happening at noon?
Yeah, Tommy, man. Thanks for having me on, brother. I'm super excited to be here. We're getting ready to kick off in about 6 minutes. My new documentary called Never in America is about to drop over on X, exclusively on X, at Ryan Matta Media. And we're about to rip the mask off, the veil off CPS's kidnapping empire out of all of the government organizations. And this is a big claim, right? We all know exactly how corrupt the FBI is. The CIA, DHS opened our borders, and for 4 years gave us lip service and brainwashing and propaganda about how our border is safe and secure as 30 million illegal immigrants and 452,000 migrant children arrived at our border. The children arrived without parents. Our government took physical possession of them and then somehow managed to vet the adult they give them to, and then lost 350,000 of them within minutes of the man that they authorized the delivery of the child to. The man and the adult just vanished into the abyss and never to be seen again. And our government still, even under the Trump administration, 12 months in or 11 months in, they've only found like 30,000 of them. Multiple of these children are they found dead. So like just our government is so corrupt, and to say that an organization is the most corrupt is a pretty big claim. And I think that because CPS is, they're legally kidnapping American children at gunpoint. Then they go and they use the court system to slap gag orders on the parents, so the parents can't even fight for their own children. And if they do fight, then they either lose visitation rights or they end up in jail in contempt of court. So it's just like the system that's been created, every system that's been created, they all started out with the allegedly the best of intentions, right? I don't think anybody, well, maybe the Clintons did create the ASFA Act with the intentions of literally kidnapping American children, but it's been this massive attack on the nuclear family for decades now. And then this is where it's kind of hit a peak boiling point when the government can come and take your child at gunpoint without a warrant. I think, the system that's designed to protect children then becomes the system designed to traffic them. And I think that's what we really have here is, for the years that I was, going around the country, tracking the trafficking of these migrant children through HHS and DHS. One thing always eluded me was I could never figure out is how did HHS and DHS never have even dealt with children before all of a sudden become this massive trafficking empire? How did they vanish 350,000 children into America? Well, I didn't realize it at the time, but CPS is actually under the HHS umbrella. It wasn't the United States government's first foray in trafficking the children. They've been doing it since 1997 via the ASFA Act, which was created under, Hillary Clinton championed it and Bill signed it into law. And it's like these government organizations have been so rotted to the core. It's time that we really, as the American citizens, if we want to start taking back our government, it's not about just getting the right politicians in there. It's getting out these bureaucratic agencies that have just, that's where the internal rot is within our own government. So yeah, we got a lot to unpack here. I'll keep talking, but I'll pass the mic back to you for a minute.
No, I I appreciate it. I think a lot of people would assume it's, the heavy law enforcement people that you imagine wearing vests, holding guns, catching the really tough bad guys, stopping the train heists and the bank robberies. You think those agents are the most dangerous, but in terms of the most corrupt, the more you see about CPS, the more it becomes almost questionable as to, is that the stated purpose behind the scenes? Is the goal for CPS just to traffic children? And I'm at the point now, I don't mean to be like blackpilled, but I think my audience is aware. If I see the federal agency doing something, I know that is like the shell game. That's the cover story. That's like what's the gullible idiot, facade version of what we're actually doing. So DEA traffics drugs, but they do it under the guise of drug enforcement. And I think Child Protection Services is exactly the same thing. They are going to traffic children, and it's going to be a racket, a big racketeer. It's a racket if they're racketeering, profiting off of the, trafficking children. And they're doing it through the state. They're doing it with a judge signing off. They're doing it with agents showing up at doors. And as I've seen videos, there's a popular one on X now, I'm sure you've seen it too, of a guy who has a female with an agent who has a sidearm, and they're at his front door saying, "We're here to take the child." And he says, "I only just got this email overnight. This is illegal. I know my rights. You can't be here." And they end up leaving his property. But I'm sure this happens every day in America, no?
Oh, every day, man. 480,000 children last year were taken by CPS. According to CPS's own internal audit, in 2019, they somehow magically got, I don't know what happened that caused them to just like, yeah, we're going to audit ourselves just to see how good we are, right? 83.3% of the time that they took a child from a loving parent, meaning they came at gunpoint or came with guns, and you voluntarily gave your kid over because they used lawfare or they used this threat of, hey, we're going to take your child, when you didn't actually have to give them your child. Whatever reason there is, you were separated from your child. 83% never come home. Or sorry, 83% were in the wrong. 54% of that never come home. So out of that 480,000 children, 54% of them that never came home, you're looking at 215,000 children that are never going to see their parents again. And 83% of that, they're in the wrong. So you're looking at like 190, 185 to maybe even 200,000 children that should have never been taken from their parents, that were taken by our government and are going to be forced into this foster care system. And then if you really start to look at the inner workings of what the foster care system is, I read a study on humantrafficking.org that there is a 98% of children that have gone through that have been rescued from or have been sexually molested at some point in their life came through the foster care system. So whatever it is that we're taking these children up from, we are putting them into a system that is so vile and evil that there's going to end up being like roughly a 98% chance in that child's life that they're going to be sex trafficked or they're going to be sexually molested. And then you take a look at like my documentary trailer. Last week, I had to go, actually 2 weeks ago, I had to go to El Salvador to even start promoting this thing, because it's normally like when you start talking about a CPS documentary is coming out, they end up killing you. And in my documentary, like even like I thought I knew how many people had spoken out against CPS and been killed. My editor plays this clip and I was just like, what? Wait, what? The list was like 20 people. We're talking about everybody from celebrities to politicians. You know, we had a senator that he was putting together a huge documentary. Nancy Schaefer. She's like your all-American grandma, right? She was like that last good hope that we had in our government. This was, I think, in the 90s or early 2000s. And she was putting together this documentary that was going to expose CPS. And her husband allegedly shot her in the back, right? They have grandkids, they have children, they've never fought, they've been married for 60 years. The husband just one night in bed decides to shoot his wife in the back and then turn the gun on himself and kill himself. Cops show up, roll it a murder homicide, case closed, nothing to see here. That documentary never seen the light of day. So if they're able to do that to senators, right? So I went to El Salvador, and my first day there, I was in the Uber to get to my car, and I put out the trailer for the documentary, and it takes off and it starts trending #1 on X. Within like basically 24 to 36 hours, Trump holds a press conference and declares that a country is judged based on how they treat their children. And we have this foster care system, which has been forgotten, but it's not going to be forgotten any longer. The Trump administration is going to step up and they're going to do what's right. And then about 24 hours later, you get Rep. Nancy Mays sharing a screenshot of what Melania has put together. So Melania Trump has created basically a care package for these kids where all the kids in the foster care are going to get iPads, they're going to get computers, they're going to get laptops. And then as they leave the foster care system, they're going to get a government job. So after we put you into a system that there's a 98% chance you're going to be sexually abused for however many years, you know, I think it's like 60% of the missing children right now at any given time have came from the foster care system. So if you see an Amber Alert or you see a missing child somewhere, about a 60% chance that kid ran away from the foster care system. Depending on the state, it's like in New York right now, 85% of the C-SPAM, the child sexual exploitation material, so the child porn that is recovered, about 85% of those children that are on those images are children that came through the foster care system. So we're going to put you into that environment where you're almost guaranteed to get molested or raped or abused after we rip you out of your loving parents' arms. Then our solution is to say, hey, kid, here's an iPad to help deal with the trauma. And don't worry, we got a job waiting for you at the post office when you graduate. That's their solution. And it's just like, throwing more money at
They
Yeah,
create a
but
funnel. They create an incentivized funnel to put more people in that.
yeah, and then all of a sudden there's all these children that are being sex trafficked. So you need more cops. You need more law enforcement. You need to expand the FBI. And it's like, instead of just going to the root cause of the problem and saying, hey, if we just eliminate CPS and we put this back at the state level and we let each state by state deal with this how they choose to, right? There's a giant, it's like during COVID, right? When the federal government didn't have the access and authority to do certain things in your state. So they create this big kitty of money and they say, hey, each state, if you guys want access to all of this additional funding, right, you only need to use 50% of it for healthcare. The rest you can use for infrastructure, roads,
Marketing,
buying off politicians, throwing raves, whatever the hell that they use that money for.
right?
There's never
Advertising
been enough at all.
vaccines was a big one.
Yeah, creating vaccines, propaganda, funding Fauci's late night trips to kill puppies, whatever. The states ratify the Constitution. So what Clinton's did in 97 was that he created the AFLOAT Act, the Americans and Safe Families Act, or whatever it's called. And that created these giant pools of money. Now, if the law enforcement officers in that state, right, or that city or that town, right, they have a certain amount of quotas that they need to hit of actually physically removing a child from the mother. So the sheriffs only get access to that pool of money if they check however many boxes. So they literally have a quota. Let's say it's 20 children per city or per county. Now, if each sheriff's office or the local police department removes said child from parents' arms and they check that box 20 times, at the end of the fiscal year, they get access to this big kitty of money. They get new squad cars. They get a new police building. The chief of police gets a new office in his new building and his new headquarters. So, and then of course, it's like at work, I worked in the automotive manufacturing industry, right? We would have each department, press maintenance would have their budget, right? Well, if you didn't spend your whole budget, they were never going to give you a bigger budget next year. So the idea was like, we were always spending at the very least exactly what we had in the bank because we wanted to make sure next year that we could apply and say, hey, yeah, we ran out of money, right?
Sure.
Same thing here. We need more police. We need more law enforcement. CPS is a great one because you say, okay, hey, X amount of children, passed away because their parents killed them. Well, why weren't we on top of that? Why didn't we catch that at the time? Well, we just didn't have the staffing to do it. But if you give us more funding, we can hire more police officers, and we're definitely going to save these children next year. And nobody wants to go, well, I don't want to give more funding to the law enforcement officers that want to save more children, right? That would just be a huge PR nightmare. So of course they just give it to them. And then again, Reagan says it best: there's nothing more immortal than a government agency, right? There's nothing closer to eternal life than a government agency. It's like once these things start, USAID being a perfect one. Like look at Trump, tried to come out guns blazing, Elon Musk, Doge, the whole 9 yards going after USAID. Every day they were finding billions and billions. And I think we're almost up to $1 trillion in Doge findings now. But we got up to 600 billion in the first 30 days that Musk was there before him and Trump had a falling out. Just imagine where it would be if Musk was still sleeping on the floor, at DHS, HHS or Doge, and he was still going into this and going hard. And yet we still haven't seen one arrest, not one. Zero accountability for the $680 billion that they found in waste, fraud, and abuse.
Well, don't you kind of think that that's, looking back at it, the whole Doge thing with Elon, doesn't that kind of appear now to be like an info laundering psyop? Like we know there's corruption. We elect Donald Trump because he says he's going to root out corruption. And so they put together a task force to air out all of the corruption. We're going to see it in numbers. We're going to see it. We're going to be mad about it. And the caveat to all of that is we're also powerless to change it. And so we just kind of go on. And so that's in short, what you just described. We saw all this corruption, and then, Thomas Massey's the only guy trying to end it.
Dude. And then go a little step farther. It's like, look at MTG, look at Rand Paul, look at Thomas Massey. I mean, Trump is just, what happened to Trump? Where did that guy go? Did we got a body double in there now? Like at some point, you really start to look at how is it possible? Like, look at Speaker Johnson being the perfect case, right?
That guy's MAGA a pedophile through and through, allegedly.
Alleged, for sure. And everything said that we just said here in this interview is all allegedly. Nothing here is a fact. Do your own research. I'm just a trailer park shit posting dude with a cutoff hoodie most of the time. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But at the same time, you look at Mike Johnson, and he had this perfect ultra mega voting record, right? Like, was your ideal dude. Somehow he found some loophole in like the legislation that allowed him to call for a vote to the floor. He took it. We kicked out Speaker McCarthy, and we like, all right, we got this guy who's like 100% perfect Trump voting record, right? We're going to get some accountability. Finally, Matt Gaetz is all about it. And then Speaker Johnson is seen walking out of the skiff with Paul Ryan. He walks down to the speaker's booth and holds a press conference where he says that like my first priority as a speaker is going to be funding Israel. It's like the same war that we are all trying to defund and de-escalate. Speaker Johnson comes out of a skiff, and it's like, so, you know, what are these people doing in these skiffs? What are our members of Congress required to sign, right? You know, we talk about NDAs, right? There's a huge NDA that every member of Congress has to sign saying they won't talk about Israel, or they won't talk about Israel's nuclear program. And it's just like, it's so bizarre program? To think that.
What Israeli nuclear program?
Exactly. And it's like, are we ever going to see any accountability? Are we ever going to find the truth about it? And how powerful are these NDAs? Like our government was like, you know, George Washington was very specific about these secret government organizations, secret police departments, right? Like we aren't supposed to have that in America because we know the outcome of it, right? They end up creating dictators. They end up creating power vacuums, and they're almost indestructible. It's almost impossible to get rid of them once they're entrenched into the fabric of your society. And that's what we have here today is we don't have a country. We don't have freedom. We don't have anything. We don't have a free and fair justice system. And the justice system now, because the Supreme Court has allowed so many of these court cases, just, you know, watching what's happening to Kyle Seraphin, watching what's happened to Elijah Schaffer and Sam Parker, and watching them just get obliterated by this Leviathan of lawfare. You know, like I don't have the ability to fight a $5 million lawsuit. And if you do fight it and you do try to justify yourself, it's just like, you're going to end up bankrupt anyways, no matter how hard you try. And there's nothing you can do about it. So it's like, when your government has the ability to kidnap your kid, gag you, bankrupt you, and then basically guaranteeing you that you're going to become a raging alcoholic, a drug addict, and you're going to spiral. Like if somebody came and took my son and there was no way I could get him back, and I just was like, and they bankrupted me, and I had no money to fight. I had no money to buy a lawyer.
Well, don't tell them how to get you. Don't give them your Achilles heel right here. That's, you know.
Well, everybody, it's every single American.
Right.
We are all the same person, right? Like none of us have an unlimited bankroll, right? We all love our children. And that's literally what this documentary is about. It's the Baby Cyrus case. I mean, Diego was a pastor for 12 years, right? He's your all-American dude. When I went to their house to interview them, I was looking around. I'm like looking at these photos of their family, right? Like when the kids were 5, when the kids were 10, when the kids were 20, when the kids are 25, and now their kids are in the photos. And it's just like I want that in my future. Like I'm so jealous of what the Rodriguez and the Anderson family have. It's like, and then just watching this system, watching them do what any parent would have done to fight to get their grandchild back. And now they're getting crushed by these hospitals, these mega corporations. Like the government couldn't steal their kid. So now the hospital that's involved in this racket that benefits, out of 13 hospitals in the country, like they're the number one receiver of government funds. So the government kidnaps the kids. The hospital plays a role in it. The hospital is over here and allegedly, right? And the hospital is now using their money that they're getting from we, the taxpayer, to wage lawfare and go after these. They have an unlimited amount of money. They're never going to run out of funding because we're constantly giving it to the healthcare system. So it's just like we've created a country that I don't want to raise children in. So I'm on my way out. Like I tell everybody, you should be doing your best thing you can for yourself and your family. You don't have to run, but you should be getting your wife, your kids, you should be getting your wealth out of this country. You should be making yourself uncancelable, but uncorruptible, but untouchable at the same time. Because if you don't, and you're going to stand in here, like look at Sam Parker. He's got some random dude, has a 9-to-5 job, and you know, he's not a wealthy individual. He doesn't have a ton of money. He's tried to run for Congress. He's tried to run for Senate. He's tried to do everything that you should do as an American citizen to fight for this country. And now because he has 100,000 followers and he did a little report, literally an investigative report, like here's the data, here's the facts, here's what, you know, these allegations people are making. And I don't know either way, but I'm just presenting you with this information and you can make your own decision. That's all Sam did. And now he's going to hit with a $5 million lawsuit and it's going to bankrupt him. And they're going to garnish his wages. It's like, that's not a country I want to be a part of. It's not a country I want to fight to save. It's not a country I want to risk. Like every documentary I put out, I get these things out for free. So I'm literally just breaking even on them. I'm not profiting. I'm not making a penny. You know, my El Salvador one, I lost like $24,000. The regime change one, where I show you how our country, our government goes into these other nations and uses our tax dollars to destabilize them, create NGOs, buy out media outlets, They use the media outlets they control to attack politicians who won't serve the United States government. And they use the media company to prop up the politicians who will support the United States government. So it's like, do us a favor here in America and sell out your nation and sell out your citizens and do what we tell you, even though it's not in the best interest of your citizens. And we'll allow you to stay in power. But dare speak out, dare go against us, we'll crush you and we'll replace you. You'd be lucky if you don't end up in some cockroach infested prison in some third world hellhole.
Or a cockroach.
That's all we do.
That would also be terrible.
Dude, it's so disgusting. And then you see what China's doing, right? So I've been to 20 different countries over the last year, and I wanted to go track down this USAID money. And I wanted to see the infrastructure of these NGOs. Are they still operational? And you go across all the way to the Darien Gap, where America spent $230 million building these mega migrant processing facilities. They're all operational, Tommy, every single one of them. They might not be moving tens of thousands or a million migrants a year like they were before, but they're still moving hundreds. So what that's telling me is that they're not planning on Trump being in office much longer. They're most likely planning on a Democrat coming in. And then now on day one, because the Trump administration is so incompetent, all they've done is sign executive orders. On day one, whatever president comes to replace Trump is going to obliterate every one of those immigration policies. The Biden administration did 93 in the first day. They did, I think, 176 or something like that in the first 8 months. Trump signed over like he's record-breaking executive orders on day one, blah, 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 all these executive orders. That's great. The next president, if we got a Gavin Newsom on day one, would spend the entire day for hours signing 1,000 executive orders to obliterate everything that Trump did and to reverse it.
If it were Gavin Newsom, he would just set, a stack of 1,000 of them to the auto pen and just let it run. I think is my guess is what they would do. I want to back up a second to something that you'd mentioned a few minutes ago, that the corruption at the DHS. And when the FBI has different field offices in every major city, I think it's obvious where you can look to see the hubs of corruption and the coordination of all the different government agencies that are underhanded, that are dealing under the table. If CPS on its surface is meant to, protect children as a service, and in reality, they are trafficking children as a service, that all still needs to be run through, one hub regionally. And I think, in our conversations leading up to this call, the FBI field offices have to have a second look taken at each. I think if you had military intelligence come in, I think you'd see each of the FBI field offices managed remotely by people in Israel. And I think similarly, the DHS is operated remotely out of Israel. Did you see on X the feature to allow for people to see where the profile viewer is from, or where the profile is based? Did you see that the DHS is based in Israel?
I sure did. I absolutely did.
Interesting, huh?
Dude. Yeah, keep going. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I just think it's to your point that, every time you look around a government agency, you're going to find two things: an inversion of what they say they're doing, and it being run and manipulated by someone in Tel Aviv. And so I guess, I don't know if, to what you just said 2 minutes ago, I don't know if Trump will be in for his full term. That was going to be one of the three questions I'd asked you is, do you expect Trump to be in for his full term? Or do you think that he can only play dodgeball with the people in Tel Aviv so much? I think, just from what my perspective is, Trump had a real strong head game going into the campaign. He was excited about being the president again. He wanted to do all the things that we want for him to do. And getting buzzed in July last year really, I think, reset him. I think it recalibrated him. And I don't think he wants to go down as Kennedy. I don't think Trump wants to get killed in office. And I think they make an example of Charlie Kirk and they say, here's what can happen to you. We're operating right out from under your nose and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And I think Trump is paralyzed by that. So I think he calls off the DHS. I think he calls off cash. I think he tells these people, you're playing ball because if you don't, it's my life. I think is what Trump's calculus is.
So the question is, do I think Trump's going to last the full 4 years?
Just, it's a hunch. No one knows anything, obviously.
I personally do not think so. I think that they're going to find some reason to either impeach him. I think he'll have some type of medical issue, which will force him to either step down or I don't really see this man riding out his 4 years. I just see him being the vector. Maybe he will because there's a lot of people out there that say Trump is just the bad guy. He's been the bad guy the whole time, and we're just not paying attention. And the more it's really hard to argue with that narrative. It really is, because when you actually start to boil it down, at the end of the day, it's like, what has Trump done that would lead us to believe otherwise? And you don't have anything.
Well, okay, so devil's advocate, because I have had this conversation with some of my best friends over the last 5 years, and we've played that out. Well, a guy that I used to live with now I think believes that Trump is the Antichrist because a girl got in his ear and put that in from her Bible study, and now he believes this. I think that there's, like I said before, a level of info laundering happening, and you can't totally take down an enemy that isn't fully identified, and so the more Americans today on the left and the right are unified against Israel, even if we have to blame Trump and he loses his reputation and his legacy for it, if he's on his knees kissing the ring with Israel so blatantly and obviously and transparently that everyone in America kind of turns against that because it's a bad taste, I think maybe that's something where you go, is Trump, pretending with Israel to be their best friend and in reality making it so gaudy that no one can stand it in the future? I don't know. It could just be that that's how it works out with him being a quote unquote coward and kowtowing to everything that they demand. I don't know. I'd like to think he would never have gotten into this if he didn't have full insulated protection from our military. But then there's the question, is our military our own or is it operated out of Tel Aviv?
Well, take a look at just like what you just showed me, like DHS, right? So it's interesting to think that for the last 4 years under the Biden administration, that Israel was operating DHS's social media pages on X. That's where you're getting gaslit every day about how our borders closed, our borders safe and secure. Now we look back and go, well, if AIPAC openly brags about owning all of our politicians and basically has the ability to buy their votes and control the way that they vote, why were they not securing our border? Trump proved that it could be done day one. I mean, we went from the amount of migrants coming across the border, specifically trafficked children. In the Biden administration, was like when Trump left office, it was 16,000 that year. Then the Biden administration, you're talking about 99,000, 127,000, 123,000, 99,000. And then the last year under the Biden administration, or when Trump took office this year, it's down to 25,000. And then that fiscal year actually goes to October. So it's like October to January. Probably a majority of those children were already here. We're probably at 12 or 15,000 already. So really only 10,000 additional children have arrived without parents that have arrived at our border, which is substantially less than during the Biden administration. And then if you just go month after month, I believe Trump's first month in office from January to February, we probably had maybe, it was like down 86%. And then by the next month, which was March, it was down 93%. So Trump had stopped the amount of children that were basically at least getting delivered into this network of pedophiles by our government by 93% in his first month. Then he went out guns blazing against USAID. And I was like, okay, like people are telling me that Trump's the bad guy. And I'm like, no, Trump's not, because he wouldn't be going after USAID if he was the bad guy, because USAID is the entire apparatus. It's the linchpin that connects the State Department, the DOD, the Department of Defense, and our military, right? And the CIA. So all of these organizations, basically USAID is the linchpin. And they all basically depend on USAID and all of their organizations out there and all these NGOs in every country to basically carry out these regime change operations. You couldn't destabilize foreign nations without USAID. Then you start to peel back the onion and go, oh, well, where did that money go that was going to USAID? Oh, part of it went to FEMA, part of it went to DHS, part of it went to HHS. And then these organizations are now funding these NGOs. So it's like everything that Trump has done has just been a facade. It's just smoke and mirrors. If you actually dig in and you realize what actually happened to these organizations, it's not the case. I think that's part of the reason why Elon left, right? Elon had this massive falling out from Trump because nobody was getting held accountable. Elon's finding all the crimes, he's finding all the money, and then instead of voting to permanently dismember the apparatus that's delivering the funds to specific organizations, they were rerouting that money. So like Elon was saving it, but then it was just coming out in another government organization. So is it really saving it? Like, think about that. They promised us $5,000 Doge stimmy checks, right? We're going to get Doge rebate checks. Where did those rebate checks go? Have you seen the $2,000 that we're supposed to get here? What is it? These tariff checks now $2,000. Well, if I'm counting, the government owes me about 7 G's already. Not to mention the amount of money that they owe me for destroying my business during COVID over a common cold. They shut down our country and bankrupted my would have been multi-million-dollar business by now. And, I'm just one of millions of Americans that had their lives destroyed by our government over the common gosh damn cold. Where did COVID go? I thought it was coming back. I thought Fauci told us that there was guaranteed to be another outbreak in the next year or two. Like, it's just like, it's laughable at best, man. So I don't think Trump's the good guy. I don't think he's coming to save us. I think America's, I'm so black-pilled, I don't think America can be saved. When you are allowing your government to kidnap your children and you're not going to do anything about it, and you're just going to stand by, and you're allowing journalists, I mean, if Elijah Schaffer and Sam Parker lose this lawsuit, everything you say will be a lawsuit. Everything. You won't be able to criticize any entity that has millions of dollars because they will just use lawfare to bankrupt you.
So what if, again, I hear you. I don't have a dog in that fight, and I'm trying to look at it like I always do, with some hope and some realistic pessimism. And if I look at, Elijah Schaffer getting sued, part of me again thinks, like, not that he would be any part, wise to it, but is that part of an informational operation? Is that a psyop where they sue, and they sue a number of people? They make it such that you cannot avoid it. No one in media is going to be able to avoid talking about or being aware of this lawsuit if they're actually aware of what's going on in politics in America. And I think that lawsuit will either get dropped, will be thrown out, or blow up, or those guys should all be countersuing her. Right now, they should be countersuing her, because what she's claiming they've done, destroying a reputation, intending harm in the public eye, that's everything she's done by making a very public claim with a lawsuit against them for $5 million each. And so I wonder, Americans every day are being ridiculed for criticizing Israel fairly and being labeled anti-Semites unjustly. And so regardless of whether they pick someone who has said anti-Semitic comments in the past, I know I would certainly be one. Maybe they pick someone who's a little bit, more, we'll say, let's go with a guy like Tim Pool, right? You and I are both very familiar with Tim Pool and his intentional fence sitting and how that annoys so many people, including myself. But if they picked him and said, Tim Pool didn't denounce that she's a honeypot, so Alexis Wilkins is now going to include Tim in the lawsuit, then you'd start to see just how ridiculous that lawsuit is. I think they need more Americans to see how bastardized our law has become. So if it were me, I'd say Alexis Wilkins is going to sue Elijah Schaffer. Then she's going to fall on her face and lose the lawsuit. And that opens the door and kind of, you've heard of like the chilling effect. If she wins, you're right. That's a chilling effect. No one else can, criticize anyone associated with Israel. But if she loses, then it's the opposite.
Yeah. And the sad part is, it's like the amount of money that these guys, like, at least Elijah Schaffer has this massive media outlet. He can take on some attorneys, like, even Andrew Tate's attorneys are like looking at this, like, this is going to be the case of a lifetime. We have this opportunity to get behind this and back it. And maybe Elijah gets some free work, but you have people like Sam Parker, who, I don't want to say he doesn't have a pot to piss in, but he doesn't have tens of thousands to throw around, let alone hundreds of thousands, which is what you're going to need. It's going to cost Elijah, if they go to trial, $250,000. And I talked to him last week, and it was like, she is hell bent on going to trial. They got this. She's not a federal employee. She's not a federal anything. She's dating cash, so that doesn't qualify her to be, up at the federal level. But this is going to the federal courts. This isn't just some local little court where like me and you would get suing each other and, file at the local courthouse or wherever jurisdiction we're in. This is going to a federal court. The only person that can above that is the Supreme Court.
Right. And that's where that's where he'd have to take it, because everything else is going to be auto-tuned. Like her music is auto-tuned. Her lawsuit's going to be auto-tuned. They're going to have already, decided when it goes to that court that he's guilty. It's going to be like Alex Jones. You've already said this thing. You are guilty. We're just going to determine what you owe.
100%. And they'll take everything from you. And that's why I say it's like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it does come out to be a positive, but the fact that these people are going to have to go through this and their lives are going to be destroyed, and they just want their social media pages. That's all they want. They just want you to hand over your social media pages, shut your business down, shut your brand down, and they'll be happy with just destroying you, both financially and with your ability to generate income. I mean, people like myself put years and years into growing on these social media platforms, and you finally get them on a run, and the next thing you know, you're facing some lawfare that you've never seen. There's never been anything like it. And it's just like, I just want to make films to help children, right? I shouldn't have to worry about my government killing me because I'm making a documentary on CPS. That should be a given. Like, you'd think that Trump and his administration would, the work I've done and the amount of it, you think that somebody would have reached out and said, hey, Ryan, where'd you get this information in your documentary? Where can we find it? Where, any of it. And they've never reached out to me, not one.
Don't hold out hope, but you might still get an invite to Mar-a-Lago if they see the video.
Talks about Trump so much, it's not even funny.
Well, they might still say, hey, Bill Maher talked a lot of shit about Trump. He got an invite to dinner. Like, you would not be seen as an enemy. Someone who would be wise in Trump's camp would still look at you and go, he's very influential. He knows a lot. He's mistaken on us, but let's invite him over. Like, if they were truly evil and an enemy of the people, then you'd never hear from them, and they'd try to castigate you and censor you and maybe later subpoena you. But I would hold out hope still, maybe, that, someone doing good things would see that video that releases today. And I saw that you posted it in China. Never in America is posted in Chinese now, right? And did you already post the English
Chinese,
copy?
Spanish. Yep, Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, and English. The Arabic one we posted in about maybe like 25 minutes. But yeah, I try to stretch them out a little bit. But yeah, I translated, and that's full with AI. Those aren't captions. That's full. My voice changed into Arabic, changed into Chinese, changed into Spanish, and it's pretty spot on. I mean, it's amazing what AI can do now. So you guys probably all seen the Hitler speeches translated back into English. It's just like that. So you guys can actually listen. Whatever your native language is, I wanted so those are the top 4 languages spoken in America and actually spoken in the world. And I wanted every single person that makes up for like 99% of us that may or may not have an interaction with CPS to fully be aware of how evil and corrupt and cynical this Leviathan really is. So that's why we've translated into all those languages as well. Yep.
It's really sharp. That's smart of you to do. How is your Spanish? Being in El Salvador, I would assume you speak some, right? Or none?
Un poco, just mi español, un poco,
poquito. All right,
yep.
Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, well, I mean, that's smart. So are you living there like part-time? I know you have a place you said down there.
Yeah, I just got some land down there that I got for, a super good deal back when it was still a super dangerous country. And I've just been sitting on it, and I leave my car. I don't have anywhere to even park my car on my property. So I just leave my car at a friend's house, and I go down there and normally just rent Airbnbs or stay at a buddy's house. I've got quite a few friends that have places down there now. So it's definitely a place where I'm looking to potentially, put some roots down. And maybe, I keep telling to God that like, I've made this deal with him where, we're going to save these migrant children. We're going to make one more documentary. And then after this, God, like, you're going to introduce me, like, you're going to help me find a wife. And I'm kind of going to settle down and have some kids, because I keep doing this and I keep banging my head against the wall and I keep putting out these films. And it's like, they're not helping anybody. They're not changing anything. My purpose was to engrave it into the history books. So that way for generations to come, when people try to rewrite the history books, they'll look back and they'll go, wait, this isn't what we're learning in school, right? It makes the more information you put out there that's good and high quality, the harder it is for them to rewrite history in their favor. So I felt like you can do an interview with anybody. It could be the best interview in the world, but 5 years from now, nobody's going to be able to find that interview, right? Especially if they nuke off one of your social media platforms, which we're all going to get nuked or silenced or censored. Like in next month, they could put out a thing on YouTube that says, hey, anything calling CPS a trafficking organization must be removed, right? We're not going to allow you to call any government organization.
It's dangerous because it harms children. Parents won't call.
Exactly. And then two months later, they reverse that, but they don't bring back the films that they already nuked off the internet. So every once in a while, they'll have these purges through YouTube, through these social media platforms. And then after that, it's just like, so it's super important why we have platforms like Nostr, right? Like I use the Primal app to access the Nostr protocol. Nostr is a decentralized social media platform. Like, think of it like Bitcoin mining, where there's all these mining computers all over the world. Nostr, they have everybody like myself has a Nostr node. So I have this computer that just runs, and it's just I'm just dedicating the storage from that computer to the Nostr protocol. So my computer connects to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these computers all connected. And together we make one giant Twitter server. So all of our information is stored on this server, and anybody can access that. It's open source. It's there for everybody. So people have built applications on top of that take all of that. It'd be like basically putting all your information into a folder, and then the Nostr protocol pulls that information out of the folder and displays it on a page that looks just like, on an app that looks just like Twitter. Right. So it takes all of my data that I've stored on Nostr and turns it into a Twitter feed. I'm posting on it like it's a Twitter feed. Nobody else, I don't know the wiser. And this platform can't be demonetized. It can't be, there's no monetization on it. It's just, you can just have Bitcoin on there, and you can send Bitcoin. So like when you, instead of liking a photo, you just send them like 1/10 of a penny. And like, you can send Satoshis. So there's like a 1,900 or 1,500 Satoshis in every dollar. So I'm able to send fractions of a penny as a tip. So like, I put $5 in there and I get 10,000 sats. I can give 10, 100,000 times basically. And I still have money. And that's just my $10. But if you get enough people using the platform and we each have $100 in our account, and we're constantly blasting our favorite creators, that $100 could last you a year. And if everybody has $100 over a year and there's a million users, right, that's $100 million. So you see where it kind of adds up quick, and you have this ability to create an ecosystem that removes all the advertisers, removes all the ads, removes all the governmental control and all the control over these social media platforms. We actually have a place where, like, I back up a lot of the Israel content, a lot of the war in Gaza I'm putting over on Nasser, because I know at the very least that's going to be there forever. That's going to be engraved into history. And it's just going to take some amount of censorship over here on X before everybody's like, you know what? F this platform, F Facebook, F Instagram. I'm going over to Nasser and be there full time. So right. I try to do my best to constantly post over there because it's an important piece of history, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's smart. I think I remember I signed up, and it's something that, when you get censored on YouTube, you think, okay, I got to go sign up for everything else. And then, time passes, months go on. Okay. We have minutes left, so I'll ask you, I know that you saw my post, replying to Harrison Smith, predicting Charlie Kirk would be assassinated by Israel. I know we talked about that a little bit. What do you now today, nearly 2.5 months later, what do you think happened on the 10th of September to Charlie Kirk?
Man, that's a great question. I think that you just got to look, we got to start like who benefited the most, right? Who stood to benefit the most from Charlie's demise? And you only come up with one solution, right? It wasn't, I mean, I see the angle that Candace is going with the Macron story. And I think that they were going after both of them, right? I think that Candace and Charlie were both, but who benefited the most from specifically Charlie? And there's only one country, and that's Israel.
Would you think that with as deeply ingrained as Israel is in our politics, would you not assume they would also be in France? Like Macron covering up his wife's penis could not be done without Israeli technology in the media silencing these things. And so if Israel says we need to get rid of these people, wouldn't France say, hey, we're the mercs. The French mercs are, infamous and notorious across the world. Like, we're going to be the ones to take people out. Are they not related?
Yep. I think you're 100. I think you're spot on, man. Again, it's like, we had 9/11 the next day. You had Tucker Carlson Redacted doing the 9/11 series, where every single podcast, every single tweet, everybody on the entire internet for that entire period was going to be out guns blazing against Israel. It was going to be saying, oh, 9/11, Israel's behind it. And then all of a sudden you have the entire Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Alpha, all of those younger generations going, wait. We said, like, I'm Gen Z, right? We sent our brothers, our cousins, our sisters, our friends, our family members to war. And a lot of us had friends that never came home. One of my good friends, Andrew, never came home. His tank got blown up by an IED, and he's no longer with us. Like, families sacrificed it all. And at the time, it was like the most noble honor, right? I remember going to his funeral, and there was our entire high school was there, right? And because he was a brother, right? And he was a good friend to a lot of us, but like not that good of a friend where he had, you couldn't even park anywhere. There was standing room only, and the entire thing was because he was a veteran, right? He gave his life fighting those.
They're showing up to honor what he died for.
100%. Those evil bad Muslims that killed our brother, right? And I remember, you went from never knowing what a Muslim was to like, oh my gosh, this guy with a towel on his head, and I don't want to get on this plane, right? And you're like, is he going to go to the bathroom and shave his beard and all the bullshit they told us? And it's just like, that was all a lie. That was all to benefit Israel, right? It was never to benefit the American people. We didn't get anything out of the Iraq war. We didn't get anything out of the Afghan war outside of slaughtering 1.2 million innocent women and children.
Yeah, 1.6 million across Iraq alone.
Jeez, Pete, dude. It's like over weapons of mass destruction that never existed.
Right, but it was really good and useful for Israel.
Bingo, right? Just like the 9/11. That Tucker Carlson and Redacted were holding the 9/11 truth hearings. and they had people like the experts from all over the world. They were coming to testify. It was going to be a live streamed event. Tucker was releasing his new documentary on it, and the entire internet was going to be talking about 9/11. The only thing that was that powerful to stop that was the Charlie Kirk assassination. Like literally, I couldn't even think of a second best that could have something big enough, maybe outside of a terrorist attack on U.S. soil, that would have been big enough to stop everybody from talking about 9/11. And not, I mean, you had some people talking about it being 9/11, but so rare. I mean, everybody was just all over the Charlie Kirk assassination that day, to the point where Benjamin Netanyahu, within the first in the first hour of the assassination, there was like 10,000 claims on X that Israel was behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That's how quick people woke up. And now you have Ted Cruz today or yesterday went into another one of his Israel first, events. They take our tax dollars, they send it to AIPAC, and AIPAC throws these conventions, and then they live stream these conventions, and they take all the videos and the clips and the shorts and they blast them all over. It's their best Hasbara ever. And Ted Cruz, again, now he's demanding that, he's like, I talked to my rabbi leaders, and if the rabbi leaders think things are fine, they're obviously not awake yet. Just all you have to do is just listen to what people are saying on these social media platforms. Look what Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Alpha is saying. And he's like, and you could hear the anti-Semitic comments. And he's like, now we got people at these events like poor Eric Trump and poor Laura Trump. They were attacked by an anti-Semite. And everything he said from I and but and me was all a lie. Everything in that guy's, and the guy was just asking, he's like, so like, what is your father's, why is your father basically Israel's bitch? Like he even got to the point where he got so pissed off. He said, they don't know what the fuck they're doing and swearing. And he claims that Israel's this, but yet he's over here like giving them unlimited support. He told them not to bomb Iran or not to attack Iran. They attacked Iran. Then we went after that and bombed Iran on behalf of Israel. And it's like, why is your father doing that? And then Eric Trump tried to beat around it, and the kid came back and like rebutted him. And now Ted Cruz is basically over there subtly blaming Instagram, blaming Facebook, blaming TikTok, and basically calling for like blanket censorship of our First Amendment, our right to speak, because at the rate we're going, Israel won't stand a chance in the next election cycle. Every politician that supports Israel should be getting voted out of office. And if they're not getting voted out of the office, then our system's absolutely broken, man.
I mean, they're called Generation Zyklon for a reason, because this new Generation Z ain't having it. I saw a kid ask a question of Ted Cruz about the USS Liberty and when we were going to see justice for the fallen and for the injured and for the still living veterans of the USS Liberty attack. And Ted Cruz said that it was an anti-Semitic attack to ask that question. And I know why. It's because, if you pull the curtain back on, the Wizard of Oz, the Jew pulling the curtain, pulling the strings, if you pull that back and you say, hey, Israel's responsible for an attack on U.S. armed servicemen at sea, there has to be some kind of recompense for that, some consequence. Then they have to address the fact that Israel may not be a great ally. And so that by itself is an anti-Semitic attack. If you try to, unwedge Israel as their, position as a great ally, that's anti-Semitic. So any criticism of Israel is truly anti-Semitic to them because it dislodges them from their position as like the brain worm in Kennedy. They're the parasite, holding us hostage, and we need to take some ivermectin as a nation. And I don't mean that as a genocide. I mean like taking the metaphor from science, but you understand.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't think the American people are going to put up with it much longer. I think that you're seeing the Great Awakening, as they call it, or the Great Noticing. There's so many people right now on like that, like never would have talked about Israel and never would have spoke out about it. And then you have people like Nick Fuentes, right? When anything big happens, Nick Fuentes is pulling 100,000 people into his live streams, right? When the 10-day Iran war with the United States was taking place, Nick Fuentes was holding more people in his Twitter spaces than anybody, like in his live streams than anybody. And if he's able to do that, right, and he's the number one show, that's where people are going to get their information. So then you take away the media's ability to combat that. So I got to change my mic out here for a second.
No, you're good. I think that Nick might be a kingmaker in the future. If he doesn't want to run for office himself, maybe they will bar him from it. Maybe he'll feel like he can't win if he did. But I think he will be someone who will have to have the thumb of approval. And if someone doesn't want to stand up for, as Nick would say, white Christian Americans, then they won't get the nod. And he kind of took the nod away from Trump. He didn't give it to Kamala, as people would say, for Nick, but he's an interesting guy. I would say this about Nick. He's an interesting cat. If you look at some of the things he's into, he went to, anyways. I won't criticize anybody who's not here to defend themselves. And Nick would, I'm sure, have an answer for everything I would question him on. So I'm sure I'd like him if I met him in person.
Yeah, I've gone to quite a few battles with Nick over the last couple of weeks. It's pretty, well, since Charlie Kirk assassination, me and Nick have kind of been roasting each other. I roast him a lot, actually. I think he's I like Nick a lot, man. I think he's going to do a really good things for this movement. I think he has a lot of really great outlooks. I disagree with him on things like he thinks like doctors are actually good, right? And these cancer doctors are out there trying to cure cancer. And I'm just like, no, dude, they're there regurgitating bullshit talking points, right? You know, we've donated how many billions of dollars to cancer. We haven't found a cure yet. We have the most advanced AI. And like all of a sudden you hear like, oh, wait, China's curing cancer. Oh, wait, Russia's curing cancer. It's like, okay, yeah, we're not that. Our entire economy revolves around our healthcare system. Imagine if you just took trillions of dollars a year away from these healthcare giants, like what that would do to the U.S. economy. I mean, imagine having to lay off, you know, entire cancer units because you could just go and get a couple of pills or get a shot and all of a sudden cancer's gone, right? Like, or you go and see a sound bath and it's like they do it with frequency and you don't even need to go into the hospital. You can just download an app on your phone, get the right speakers sent to your house, play some vibrational frequencies, and all of a sudden you're curing cancer. Like that's a big change in things, man. But yeah, I mean, I could go into these things all night. I know I got to kind of wrap this up here. I got to get in the next interview here in a minute.
Well, I would love to talk with you about cancer cures and vibrational frequency healing and all the other things that I know we both probably believe in, and we could go on forever. But I know you probably want to eat something. I appreciate you being here. Let everybody know what your schedule looks like for the rest of the day so they can find you and keep up with the rest of the shows and interviews you're doing.
Yeah, man. Next, I'm headed on a Dale Richardson's podcast. I literally have back-to-back interviews all the way till 11 o'clock tonight. At 9 p.m., we're going to be live over here on X. I'm going to share it down in the comments of my documentary. That's going to be the Maze's Twitter space. So Maze Love 14 over on X. She's hosting an amazing Twitter space, and I hope everybody comes. The most important thing that you guys could do for me right now is jump down in the comments of my documentary. If you're busy at work, too, if you could just open your phone and put it on silent and just let that documentary fully play over and over again. So everything on X is built off of a scorecard. A like's worth 1 point, a quote tweet's worth 2, a retweet's worth 2, a quote tweet's worth 5, bookmarks worth 15, comments 27, and a reply to a comment's 151 points. So if you see somebody that says something that resonates with you, jump in there and have a conversation with them down in the comments. Every comment, every reply to a comment, that's super huge. Quote tweets, if we get this thing trending right now on X, oh my gosh, it would be like a freaking dream come true, man. So yeah, anything you guys can do to help share this documentary, send it to your friends. We got it in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic. So any relative of any race, ethnicity, for the most part, we should have a language out there that you can understand. You guys can watch it in that without subtitles as well. So yeah, man, Tommy, I just appreciate you having me on, man. If everybody could just help out, share that, go down there. And if you had your kids taken by CPS, I'm begging everybody, record a 5-minute video. Tell me what happened. Or if you got those good viral clips on previous families being taken by CPS, drop all of that. I want all of that into the comments. So when everybody starts going through this video or watching this documentary and they go, oh, I had my cousin this, they want to tell their story, or anybody tries to discredit the fake news, tries to say that's not happening, they're going to go down in those comments. They're going to go, whoa, I want to say that this is fake news, but like there's 50,000 families in here that have all had their kids taken by CPS. And, this is the aftermath of it. So yeah, man, I just appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
Ryan Matta, the new film is called Never in America. It is live exclusively on X today. Check it out. And as you said, check out the replies for all of the different home anecdotal evidence of CPS taking children away here in America and everywhere else around the world. Ryan, thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you. We'll talk again.
Look forward to it, Tommy. Anytime you want me back on, man, love to come back.
Cool. I'll see you.
All right, later, brother.